Uh, on paper where the story's told, facts and truth, the legend grows. Lionheart's here with fire to spit. It's on paper with Anthony Smith.
With Anthony Smith.
All right, guys, we are jumping in here for a quick bonus episode. Dana White dropped an absolute bomb full of fight announcements for us. So I figured we'd just jump on here really quick and just talk about it. I guess we'll start with UFC 314 in Miami. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. I think that's a really interesting fight. It's kind of been hinted at a little bit, kind of leading up, and you I don't know, where there's smoke, there's fire. And sometimes when there's no smoke, there's also a fire. Like, I feel like both these guys were looking for fights, and we've been talking about who their next opponents are going to be. And they were doing some interviews, and all of a sudden both of those guys kind of went quiet. So I think that a lot of people probably expected that. I think that it's a perfect card for both those guys to be on. I'm glad to see Michael Chandler, getting back into action and not sitting around waiting and, seeing what Connor's going to do again. And maybe, I don't know, maybe moving on from that whole debacle that he was in. I like the excitement. I like that we get Paddy Pimblett in another kind of marquee matchup. And part of me is happy to see Michael Chandler get a little bit of a favorable matchup. With all due respect, the guy needs a win, and I think this is one of those matchups where he's probably going to be the favorite. And then there's a good chance that he does get that win. But obviously the big news for UFC 314 is the main event. Alexander Volkanovski trying to get his title back versus Diego Lopes. I don't know if the fight itself is the biggest news or if it's Ilia Topuria vacating his title. And again, there's been a lot of speculation about what Topuria is going to do. Is he going to move up? Is he going to try to be double champ status? And I think we just got our answer. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that if he moved up, he would keep the featherweight title, try to get 2 titles. I wonder if he's having a really hard time making 145 pounds, or if he's one of those guys that's here for a good time, not a long time, and he wants to continue on chasing more titles, cementing his legacy, and trying to add to his accolades by being a multiple weight champion. I kind of would have liked to see him stick around 145 pounds for another fight or two. I think fighting guys like your Diego Lopez's or Movsar, or if Aljamain Sterling was able to get back in the winning, get back to his winning ways and find himself in a title fight. I like some of the parity and some of the matchups in all of those fights. So little disappointed that we're not going to see those, but I'm not disappointed at the chance to see an Islam Makhachev fight with Ilia Topuria. I think that that's really interesting. I think that those two guys create some really interesting challenges for each other. I do wonder though if Ilia is going to have to fight someone else at 155 pounds first. Just the other day, I seen an interview with Islam saying that he believes that Topuria would need a win at 155 pounds and earn his title shot. That seems kind of crazy to me that Ilia Topuria would have to fight one time in the weight class, moving up as the champion. But man, there is this talks of an event in New Orleans, in Dustin Poirier's home state. The timing seems to really work out. It would be real cool to see Dustin Poirier in his last fight versus Ilia Topuria in Louisiana, main eventing that. And if Ilia Topuria can get a win over him, that would create a lot of hype and a lot of popularity and a lot of pay-per-view dollars generated for everyone involved moving into an Islam Makhachev fight coming off of that. So all that's really interesting. The Volk Lopez fight, what a barn burner that's going to be. We'll get into the X's and the O's of I guess, a lot of this stuff a little later on, but I'm really just kind of blown away at the fight, all the fights that we just got dropped on us. And then, we'll move on to UFC 315. Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena was one I didn't really see coming. Really excited about that fight. Super cool to see Jack Della Maddalena get himself into a title fight. I think that those two guys match up really interesting with each other, especially with Jack already competing against a couple really high level grapplers and finding his way to success in those fights while dealing with some adversity while he was doing it. Again, Belal is on his own run, and as much as he's been doubted and kind of looked over and passed by, the guy's a legitimate champion, and right now he's got a pretty good stranglehold on that division. But that is interesting. That makes me wonder what's going on with Shevchenko. I had heard in the grapevine that Shevchenko was dealing with some injuries and was going to be out for a while, but we hear these kind of things all the time, so there's no way to actually know. But this seems like this is probably a confirmation that he's going to be out for a little while. I'm happy with the matchup. I think Jack Della Maddalena is more than competent, more than deserving. And then Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon. I don't know that the fight itself is really the groundbreaking news that we're looking at. It's a great fight. I think Manon's on an incredible run. She has a chance to beat anybody in the world. She'll be super competitive and could win. I think that disappoints probably a lot of people for the Zhang Weili matchup. That was the one I wanted to see, was Weili versus Valentina. Again, that wouldn't necessarily be very fair to Manon, but I think that's probably the fight that all the fans wanted to see. So, we're missing out on that one. But if Valentina can be successful and it can be dominant, I think that builds that fight even bigger. And then there's just a couple little notes. Sean Brady versus Leon Edwards is number 1 versus number 5. That's probably a title eliminator, depending on what's going on with Shevchenko. I think that Sean Brady found himself in a position that maybe he wasn't quite ready for when he ran into Belal. I think that was one of those times a lot of people doubted Belal and what he was capable of. And that was kind of the moment for me when I realized, all right, this guy, he's the real deal. This isn't just this isn't just a dominant wrestler that's holding people down. He can kind of do it all. But I would imagine that the winner of that, other than Shevchenko, is probably the next guy in line for a title. So that's interesting. And then kind of lastly is the, Patricio Pitbull versus Yair Rodriguez. I think that Pitbull's a guy that, the hardcores and definitely the fighters that are in the game at a high level have always looked at as a guy that we always wished was competing in the UFC, just to see what he could do. And, this is how it goes. Sometimes you get these guys in other organizations, guys like MVP and Pitbull, and we don't know what we're going to get now. I'm not saying that Pitbull's not going to still be competitive and he's not still going to beat some of the best guys in the world, but I wish we would have got him a little earlier in his career. I'm happy to have him now, so don't get me wrong, but that's a really exciting fight. Yair Rodriguez is probably the perfect person you could put him in there with. It's going to be exciting. You're going to get your money's worth. And those guys are both they're not going to take a backward step. It's going to be nonstop action. So I'm happy to see Pitbull finally make his way to the UFC and get those 3 letters on his gloves and let's see what he's got. He's always said that he thought that he was the best, one of the best in the world and could hang with any of the guys in the UFC. Right now he's getting a perennial badass in that division in Yair Rodriguez. Good for Yair too. Another big fight, another big name. And gets to throw the welcoming party for Patricio Pitbull. That's all I got, guys. That's all I got right now. I was just really excited when I seen all that news and kind of wanted to just talk about it a little bit. So make sure you guys subscribe, turn on your notifications, follow the On Paper Podcast on Instagram. And I appreciate you guys. And I will see you in a couple days. We partner with Homofight Picks to get you the most accurate and well-researched fight predictions. They do all the legwork so you can focus on winning. Picks will be sent directly to your phone via text or email. It's totally up to you. The second we upload them. Use code Lionheart to get 7 free days at winnable.com/HOF picks. That's WINIBLE.com/HOF picks.
With Anthony Smith.